we continue our coverage of the Biden family financial scandal. Now, it's all about trying to follow the money, which, to be honest, isn't that easy. Money from China. Actually, you go back, Chairman Yi here is a billionaire from China who distributed money to a number of different spots, including one of his emissaries connected to the U.S., right here, Gongwen Dong, and that's at an LLC called Hudson West 5, there's Hudson West 3, so a number of these LLCs, and Kat, as you and I have been looking at this, as you get closer to the Biden family, you get more and more LLCs, which are pass-through tax organizations that really, when you look at it, are designed to keep things confusing.
Exactly. And of course, at the end, you're seeing the Bidens, the multiple family members, where all of those deposits, where that money ended up going. So again, you can see where it starts in China and then where it all ends up.
That's it. This, by the way, from the document released by Congressman Comer earlier today. And if it looks like that's confusing, that's the point. And that's a point that Congresswoman Mace made today. With more on the Biden family scandal, congressional correspondent Kilmeny Dukart joins us now. Kilmeny.
Bob and Katrina, good afternoon. Great to be with you. Congressman James Comer using the power of the subpoena to get those bank records to detail what he says is a complex web of payments made to Biden family members through 20 different companies and Biden family associates, millions of dollars, which he says came from China and Romania.
While Vice President Biden was lecturing Romania on anti-corruption policies, in reality, he was a walking billboard for his son and family to collect money.
The White House today dismissing what they call a politically motivated investigation full of baseless claims, personal attacks, and innuendo used to score political points. Comer says Biden told the American people on October of 2020 that his son Hunter never made money from China, saying that is a lie based on these bank records.
The White House refuses to correct the president's statements, showing the president is now using the federal government to run interference for his families and his own role in these schemes.
Well, this is certainly substantially building off of a huge investigation that was initially done by Republican Senator Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson. Using the subpoena power, they've managed to flesh out this entire web of scheme that they say compromises the president. While the president hasn't directly been indicted in this particular investigation, we do want to update our viewers that the deadline for the FBI to hand over an unclassified document which allegedly details a bribery scheme involving Joe Biden when he was vice president, that deadline has now expired.
All right, Kilmeny Dukart, thank you. And here with their thoughts, Newsmax contributor, former FBI agent and former Marine, Michael Grimm, also colonel in the U.S. Air Force Reserves and host of the Doug Collins podcast, former Georgia Congressman Doug Collins. Doug, this is the kind of thing you probably would have been involved with, this Comer investigation. What are your thoughts here as far as what we know?
Well, what we know so far is they're beginning, and I love the way y'all put it on the board and sort of laid it out for people. People need to see this not in a abstract and saying this, oh, well, he's just taking money, he's just doing this, Hunter's doing that. You're actually seeing the connections. Several things jump out at me. This is a complex scheme, and a complex scheme is meant to throw you off the track. Multiple LLCs, multiple monies going to different places, but all end up in the same place, the Biden family. The other issue here, though, is for me, coming off of these transaction reports that were flagged already, this is what they're taking a lot of this off of. Why was there never anything done at Department of Justice or Department of Treasury about these? There's 170 different incidences here that they're looking at, but nothing was ever really amazingly followed up on while he was vice president and then while, now president. The last point I want to make about this is interesting. The White House has came out and said, well, they're not putting it, Comer has said nothing about the policies this influenced or anything else. And I just want to ask the White House, have you ever heard of a retainer? You put people on retainer and if you need them later. Look, Romania quit paying after he got out of office because they didn't need him on retainer anymore. So again, this is just a bad look for the Biden administration, and they've got to have to answer it at some point.
Yeah, Michael, let's ask you to put on your retired FBI hat for a moment. What stands out in all of this to you? What makes you say, wait a minute, there's something there?
Colleague from the House there, the congressman said it very, very well. multiple LLCs. And putting my old FBI hat on, this was really my specialty, complex financial frauds. And as soon as you see multiple LLCs that are tying back to the same entity or family, you know something is awry. So I think you have two big issues that are really jumping out at the American people at this point. Number one is this scheme that involves the Bidens, and how does this compromise our national security? That's number one. But number two is, how long has the Justice Department had this? Why have they not done more to make this public or to investigate? And has Biden used his positions as vice president and as president to make sure that the Department of Justice cannot move forward with a full investigation? Those would be the two questions I'd be asking as any American citizen. But no doubt, all of these LLCs, complex fraud, involves foreign countries. There's no question this doesn't add up.
Okay, here's a little bit more from James Comer about the Biden connections from Romania.
While Vice President Biden was lecturing Romania on anti-corruption policies, in reality, he was a walking billboard for his son and family to collect money. Hunter Biden and his associates capitalized on a lucrative financial relationship with a Romanian national who was under investigation for and later convicted of corruption in Romania. The Bidens received over $1 million for the deal, and 16 of the 17 payments to their associates' account that funneled the Bidens' money occurred while Joe Biden was vice president. In fact, the money stops flowing from the Romanian national soon after Joe Biden leaves the vice presidency.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people, 16 payments while he's in office, then there could be a quid pro quo, even though we haven't identified it. Right. But what you're saying is, even if you can't identify something, it's going on, the payments.
Yeah, like I said, it's a retainer, and Michael was very, good about that, the complexity issue. But this also, one of the things that was mentioned is, why is the DOJ, I've mentioned it, Michael's mentioned it, we've mentioned it here, why is the DOJ doing anything? Well, the real interesting question to me is, when Comer announced this press conference at the first of the week, all of a sudden last night, the DOJ, after a few months of investigating, they announced the indictments in the arrest of George Santos. Now, everybody is focused on this shiny object over here while this is being put out by the Bidens. If there's not a coincidence there, then I'm not from North Georgia.
That's a great point. Michael Grimm, final thoughts.
Yeah, just that, look, as a former FBI agent, the FBI doesn't believe in coincidences. If it looks like a duck and it smells and it quacks like a duck and walks like a duck, guess what? It's a duck. So the Bidens have a real problem on their hands. This is a real case. These are real crimes. Whether the DOJ actually does anything with it while he's president, yet to be seen.
But the duck in this case had an LLC. And
multiple
LLCs.
Multiple LLCs. A quick question on the Bulldogs won't go to the White House.
Right.
Tell me your thoughts about that. They win the national championship, and a lot of times they end up in the White House. They're saying, we don't want to go.
Well, win the national championship, get the invite immediately. You don't wait 4 months after the fact. The student athletes are gone. You're going to put them with all the college athletes day. And it had to be brought to the White House's attention. Oh, by the way, you didn't invite that school from Georgia to come to the White House. Another shame on the White House.
All right.
Go Dogs.
Yeah. All right. Doug Collins, stick around. Michael Grimm, thanks so much.
Thank you.